The JLR interview series.
Okay, so it's Monday morning, just after 11 a.m. on Jazz London Radio, and we got a very special artist with us today, award-winning pianist, Zoe Rahman. So, how are you this morning?
I'm very well, thank you. It's great to be on the show. Thanks for having me on.
That's great. And I thought it'd be really good to get Zoe on because she's got a new CD out called "The Color of Sound" on her label Manushi, called Manushi Music and it's going to be released in July. Now, what day is that in July?
7th of July is when
7th
the
of
album comes
July.
out. Yeah. Yeah.
Really fantastic music and been featuring it on the latest releases, and I'm absolutely certain the other presenters will be playing it very soon as well. So
Thank you.
really, first question I've got for you is if you could just tell us about the CD and what's the theme behind it and what inspired you to
Oh
write this.
gosh. Well, it's been a while since I made an album. My last one was a solo piano album. In
Oh,
between when I had my first child and my second child, I managed to squeeze in making an album. And then obviously the sort of chaos of bringing up two kids was
yeah.
quite difficult to juggle all of those things. So and a pandemic and various sort of life events happened. So in fact I was hoping to make this album in 2020.
Wow.
But obviously, things got delayed. So, and in the meantime, I thought, people have been away from each other for so long. Audiences haven't been able to go to gigs. Musicians have had a hard time. I wanted to make a statement with this album and make it a bigger project. So there are all kinds of musicians on the album, up to an octet. Some of the tracks have got trio, some are quartet, quintet. So I sort of gathered my favourite musicians really, and just gave them some um, space to play. And all these tunes, they're all original compositions by myself.
Hmm.
I was lucky enough, just out of the blue, in I think it was 2021, that Ivors Academy gave me an award. I just completely wasn't expecting it. A sort of an impact award on their composers awards, and it was for my compositions over the last. I've been making albums since 2001. So,
Wow.
20 years of making albums on my own label. And it's specifically because they gave me that award for my compositions that I thought, well, on this CD, I really just want it to be my own music and showcase that and showcase my music arranged for a larger lineup. Because, for years I've been doing trio, quintet, quartet. But I just wanted to do something a bit more special on this one, even though, the expense of doing that was rather rather high. But I just, for myself and for my music, I just wanted it to be a bit more special. Yeah. So that's what it is.
Hmm.
That's the kind of
Well,
lineup.
okay. Well, the first one question I got on that before I ask anything else is so you've always recorded on your own label.
Well, unfortunately, yes, I have. That's just how it's happened. I have, it'd be fantastic to have some support. I think for me as a jazz musician, the last 20 plus years, I have, to be honest, I have struggled to get people to help me on any front. Management, bookings, label support. So I've just done it all myself, just because I want the music to happen. So I do it, and it's not an easy task, especially you know with family and everything else going on.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's about the music and it's about making the music happen. So however I can do that, maybe in the future someone will come along and help me. I don't know. But the main thing is to make the music, and so people have that, and audiences come and see gigs, and musicians get a chance to play. Because jazz is such a fantastic art form, and I just really want it to be out there. Yeah.
So, I mean, I suppose that gives you sort of what more artistic license.
It does, yeah. I mean, that's the beauty of it. I can make albums as and when I feel like it. It's not a commercial venture in that sense. I'm here to make the music,
Mm.
and I put albums out when I'm ready to put them out. I write the music very much from the heart. It's not something I'm not thinking, oh, I need to make an album because someone else needs to make some money.
Yeah.
It's about making the music, and um, yeah, it's about a moment in my life, a moment in time, how my music is at that specific moment, you know. So everything comes together for that point in time, and then I can look back, you know, in a few years and say, all right, that's how my playing was. That's what this sort of thing I was writing, you know. And throughout this is my 7th album on my own label, so you know, people can sort of see how my music's changed, how, you know, different things I'm interested in over the years. It's a journey.
What about like promotion and stuff? Do you find that side easy or?
No, it's all difficult. The easiest bit is getting on stage and performing. That's the thing that I want to do. So yes, things have massively changed since 2001. You know, with the advent of the internet. I mean, there was none of that when I started out. You know, I used to have a PO box and people used to write, and you know, handwritten letters asking for the album. I used to, you know,
sounds nice now looking back.
Yeah, it was like real human beings. You know, they would actually listen to something on the radio, like something on your show. They would hear it and they would handwrite, you know, to and I would answer. But yeah, these days with streaming, all of that has completely changed the landscape, and especially for independent artists like me. If you don't know what you're doing, which I didn't actually a few months ago, I had to learn very quickly how to do all this stuff. You know, it's a bit of a minefield, and yeah, it's not necessarily geared to independent artists.
No.
So, you know, when you invest a lot of money, and I'm talking a lot of money, because I'm a piano player, I have to go into a studio with a nice piano. I have to do it. Probably I can't just make an album in my house. It's not. It's just not possible for many reasons. So I actually have to spend a lot of money on making these things, and you know, the way it is set up these days, it's not the same. In the old days, I would sell albums on gigs and I would make the money back, you know, in a reasonable amount of time. But now when people are streaming free and you get 0.003 pence a stream or something ridiculous, you know, I looked the other day, 500 people had listened twice, and I'd made about 1p. You know,
crazy. I know. So,
yeah, so there are benefits. I can see that for, you know, publicity, the wider reach of your music. But at the end of the day, I'm a human being, and like all musicians, you know, we need to certain amount of income and to keep ourselves going, so we can make the next album. You know, it'll be a long time unless I make this money back and then make money to make the next one. You know, it'll be a long time before I make another album, which I think for a lot of musicians, you know, it's such a shame, because there's great music out there ready to be made.
No, I
agree.
Just
we don't have the means to do it. Yeah,
the only reason I ask is I saw that it's on your label, and I've mentioned this before, but I saw Jack DeJohnette about 6 or 7 years ago doing a talk at South Bank during one of the London Jazz Festival dates he was doing. And one of the things he said at the time, which stayed with me, is that musicians now have to be, or artists have to be entrepreneurs. So like, I suppose when he started, it was a totally different environment.
Yes.
But I like how he understood that, even as an older musician, you know, that what the younger ones have to deal with coming through.
Yeah, I mean, there is that, and you're expected, you know. I mean, if you I'd love to have the time to do all the things that I'm supposed to do, you know, but I just don't. So I sort of, like a lot of musicians, just sort of muddle through. I get through it, and I do what I can in the best way that I possibly can. You know, when you're a tour manager and you're a booking agent and you're a publicist, I do have a team of people around me helping me. I do have ECN Music has taken me on. Emma Perry, she's helping me with PR, which is absolutely fantastic, you know, to have some support on that front. You know, that's great. But yeah, I didn't want this conversation to kind of
because sorry, I took it that direction. So
no, but it's good, it's interesting. But it's interesting for people to know. I'm hoping, you know, but it doesn't affect, you know, ultimately they like the music, hopefully they'll buy it.
Yeah, of course.
And come to the gigs. I mean, for me, it's being in a room. We had our first gig on Friday in Turner's in Southampton, and it was amazing. People were just so incredibly like lovely and moved by the whole experience. I think seeing 8 musicians on stage and phenomenal musicians as well, you know, really good artists in their own right, coming together and playing this music. It was really great. Yeah.
So, you know, that's what I was going to ask you as well. So, first of all, the musicians who appear on the CD, and also the music itself. It's I mean, would orchestral be a right word to use? It really flows.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think as a piano player, you know, I see the piano as an orchestra, but in the same way as Ellington would, you know, kind of like the way you orchestrate things and arrange things for a larger ensemble. You know, as a piano player, you're thinking like that anyway, because it's has a very wide range. In terms of, it can go very low and it can go very high. Not all instruments can do that. So, and you can play several notes at the same time. So in that sense, you know, you're already thinking in terms of other instrumentation, you know, for broader palette. So yeah, when it came to this, it was quite, I mean, I specifically arranged the music for an octet for the tour. Like I say, on the album, it's not all octet tracks. So it's called Colour of Sound. So each track has a different soloist. So you get a kind of slightly different focus on each track. And then same thing when it's live on the tour. You know, different soloists appear on different tracks, but there's it's a little bit different to the album, which is exciting, you know, having an 8-piece arrangement. I just couldn't afford, and I didn't have the time to really do that on the album. And I wanted the album to be a variety of sounds as well. So but the tour, it's a really exciting. We've got amazing musicians.
So can you tell us who they are, please?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, on the album, it's Jean Calderazzo, Alec Dankworth. They're on the tour. Roland Sutherland on flute. My brother Idris Rahman. Well, he does everything. Bit of a genius. He plays.
Is he older or younger brother?
He's younger. Okay. And he plays tenor, sax, alto, and clarinet on the album. But live, he's going to be playing tenor and clarinet. I've done a lot of stuff with him over the years, in his bands as well, soothsayers and all kinds of things. And then Rosie Turton, fantastic trombone player. She sounded amazing the other night. And then various people are popping up various points. So on the album, Byron Wallen, he's going to be joining us, hopefully for the King's Place album launch in London on the 6th of September. And Alex Ridout as well. She's a fantastic.
Oh yes, I've interviewed her many years ago, actually. Yes.
Right, great. Yeah, she's based in New York now, but she's
for
a couple of gigs. So which is great. She played on the album. And then Helena Kay, who's also a fantastic alto player. They're coming down. They're based in Edinburgh, but they were there on Friday. They'll be doing the tour, and they sound fantastic. So it's really exciting. And Mark Armstrong joined us on trumpet as well. I played with Mark for many years. I used to play in Clark Tracy's quintet with him a long time ago, and he knows my music well. So that was a nice bit.
So I was going to say that you've also got quite a mix of generations all together on one stage as well.
No, absolutely. You know, because I think it's important to have that breadth and depth of musicianship, really. And also as a woman in the jazz industry, you know, there weren't that many female musicians that I could work with all those years ago. You know, there were some around. It's just not in the same way that there are these days, but they still don't necessarily get the platform that they deserve. So I felt it was really important for me to have women on stage with me, which is great. You know, it's a different dynamic for me.
I just want to ask you on that. Why do you think they don't get the platform they deserve at the moment? There are a lot of female artists coming.
Sorry, I've just looked out the window. There's a deer.
Oh, really?
That's amazing. I live in London, and there's a deer just hanging out the back of my window. We had some badgers last night. So anyway, that's completely irrelevant. You know, this is Jazz London. It's
all right.
Sorry about that. One of the tracks on the album is called Peace Garden, so you know there is a connection. with nature, and that's kind of relevant if your your listeners want to picture a deer and a badger while they're listening to the video. I can't remember the question. What's the question? Oh yes, about women in jazz not getting the platform they deserve. Well, historically, that's been the case. You know, women have been kind of written out of the history books, or not written into the history books, more like. And so, for many different reasons, I mean, there's too many really to go into here.
But you think it's changing?
But that attitude, it still persists, but it is definitely changing for the better. But you know, when institutions and the sort of you know, top down things are run by men, it's very difficult for women to be seen in the light that they should be seen, you know, because there's an understanding just isn't there. So I mean, it will change. It's changing, and I enjoy being in a position where I can give women that platform, and you know, and I've done my own thing, you know, for years. You know, partly your initial question, why am I on my own label? Well, that's, you know, the reason I couldn't find anyone to take me seriously enough. Even with all the like accolades and all that stuff that I've done, you know, Mercury's mobile, it's, you know, it's still, there seems to be that. Yeah. Anyway, I don't want to.
Well, perseverance is, you know, is to be congratulated as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it really is. That is the word. I think the album could have been called that. Yes, I've certainly persevered, and I'm still here. I'm still doing my thing, and I think also that comes out in the music. It's something I really want to make this music. You know, it's something that is really dear to my heart. Yeah, and I try and do it to my best ability to share the joy of music basically with people and give people hope, especially coming out of the pandemic and all the kind of awful things that are going on in the world at the moment, you know, that my children hear on the news before I turn it off. They ask me to turn it off, you know.
Do they?
Yeah, because obviously I don't want them to hear all of that. It's horrible. But music, you know, our house is filled with music. My kids are very musical. I think music is such a, you know, there should be more of it in the world, and especially for young people in schools. It's not there in the way that it should be, in the way that it was when I was growing up. I had amazing music teachers in schools. It was just always there, part of my upbringing, and I wish for other people, children, that they have that in their lives, because we really need that.
Yeah, we'll dodge that, because that's going to go into political talk, because that's the reason why it is what it is. We both know this. So yeah. Well, so I mean, just a couple other things. Are you involved in any other projects at the moment? I looked on your website. You've really been involved in some interesting things, writing for theatre and all sorts of different things. Are you involved in any other things at the moment, right now?
Well,
this music.
No, I mean, this is all encompassing right now for me, like I say. And I do have a couple of other things that might be happening. That when you mentioned the theatre show, I wrote some music for a theatre show about Stan Laurel and Charlie Chaplin, which is really brilliant. Told by an idiot theatre company. They were fantastic, and that's actually it was on earlier this year in Wilton's Music Hall, and I think there are plans to put it on again at some point, which would be great. That was really fun writing the music for that. And then I've always got projects in my mind that I would like to do. So if I say them now, then they might not happen.
No. You don't have to tell us. Keep them to yourself.
You'll hear about them in the future.
Yeah, in due course.
No, but I've this year I have been working on some stuff again with my brother, because I made an album with him exploring our Bengali roots.
That sounds interesting.
That was an album called Where Rivers Meet in 2008, and it was all things like Rabindranath Tagore, songs that my dad really liked. I mean, my dad's not around anymore, sadly, but I'm still listening to Bengali music, trying to learn the language, trying to understand the culture, because I was brought up in Chichester in West Sussex, so very far removed from any Bengali culture apart from my dad. And so this year and last year, my brother and I have been just working on some new material with artists British Bengali musicians like Sohini Alam, Debbie Priya, Sirkar, people like that, sitar player and singers. And I was lucky enough to play recently actually with Jonathan Mayer, sitar player, in a project we did in Liverpool. Yeah. A sort of Indo-jazz fusion type
That
event.
sounds good. I have
Really
to say.
fantastic. Yeah, so
Yeah,
there may be
sounds
more
good.
of that coming. That was organised by an organisation, organised by Millap, an organisation in Liverpool,
Okay.
arts organisation. So yeah, there are definitely things on the agenda.
Marvelous. And just finally, so I was going to ask you about tours if you want to tell the listeners. So it sounds like you've
I'm doing a solo concert in Leicester on the 22nd this week actually, so Thursday. Yeah,
Thursday.
we're going to be playing music from Colour and Sound, but on solo piano.
Right,
And
okay.
then I'll be at Love Supreme on the 2nd of July, the Sunday, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. That's not far from London, so you can come down there. That's going to be great. In fact, Alex Ridout, I think, might make an appearance. And then I'm doing, again, Froome Festival. That's a solo piano festival. And then we're going all around the
Which
place.
festival, sorry?
Froome.
Okay.
Froome, F-R-O-M-E, Froome
Yeah.
Festival. Yeah, that's solo piano on the 7th of July.
Mhm.
And then we're doing Brecon Jazz Festival on the 20th of August, which is exciting. And oh, sorry, I forgot to mention also Tori Freestone, another woman who's joining us. She's been playing
right,
tenor
okay,
sax.
yeah,
So she played on Friday. Yeah,
Okay.
and then I go to Edinburgh Jazz and Blues Festival on, I think it's the 17th of July. And Laura MacDonald, who I've done a lot of work with over the years, she's based up in Scotland. She's joining us on alto. She's a fantastic alto player. And also she was on MasterChef a couple of years ago and got through to she was number
All right. Interesting.
as a random thing. So I'm hoping she's going to do the catering. She was like, I'm a finalist on MasterChef. And then the big one, for London, 6th of September, would be fantastic if people could come down to that. That's at King's Place.
Yeah, King's Place, really. I know it's been around for a few years now, but really up and coming venue, isn't it?
Beautiful venue. I played there last year with Courtney Pine on an album that we did, Spirituality. That was his latest album. That was with strings. In fact, we ended up doing 2 nights. Yeah, so 6th of September. And then we go off all over the place. I think Leeds, Howard Assembly Room, 8th of October, Newcastle Festival of Improvised Music, Jazz and Improvised Music, 28th of September. Dorking Jazz Festival on the 12th of September. I'm doing them in really not very good order here.
That's all right. I mean, basically, you're going to be busy. Yeah. I mean, Liverpool, so people just check your website for...
yeah, basically, check the website and hopefully I've updated it. Someone did me a nice poster recently. So
this is the opportunity to get that sorted, I suppose.
Yeah, no, I've kind of dragged myself into the 21st century and I've started posting on Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
Page, which I had one for about 3 years and I only did my first post a couple of weeks ago. So I've got a lot of catching up to do. But there is a nice poster on there for all my tour dates and Facebook.
Make sure to follow you then.
Please do. Please do. Give us all some love, musicians. We need it.
No worries, no problem. Well, okay. Well, thanks. Really nice interview. Thanks for joining us on Jazz on the Radio. Yeah, it sounds like you're really busy, and as I say before, I'll say again, really fantastic music, and I absolutely have no doubt that people will enjoy it. I have no doubts about that. So yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. Thank you. Thanks for having me on. Bye.
The JLR interview series.